that up for me?
Thank you. One quick. Understand? That puts you back on track. That's a really good idea. 10. 5. 2. Let's go.
Hey everyone, it is Wednesday. You are listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key and we are Selling Sacramento. Remember that Selling Sacramento is brought to you every single Wednesday by Matthews & Company Realty Group, where I, Agent Key, am broker and owner, and I love helping you buy, sell, and retain real estate. Agent Key, the key to your next home. And I also want to bring your attention to the club, SAC Club 100. Go to joinclub100.com and register for the lab coming up for the month of April. We had a great turnout at March's lab. We had awesome speakers. We actually have 10 buyer appointments lined up, kicking off the month of April. 2 just went into escrow yesterday from the month before, and I was told this morning that another buyer got into escrow on a new home construction in a 55 plus community. And so these are people who are taking the chance to have the conversation and enter into home ownership. Go to joinclub100.com. When you get there, you'll have 2 options. One, to click on join the club, and the other, join the lab. Either way, you will enter into the club and enter into positioning yourself to create a map towards home ownership with myself and our awesome team. So again, one last time, www.joinclub100.com. On today's show, I am always excited. I always say I'm always excited. We are wrapping up Women's History Month. And I always have the awesome opportunity of running into amazing women. And I've done that really recently, and I'm asked to speak at certain places. And one of the events that I was asked to speak at, I have the amazing founder of this event in the studio with us today. And I'm kind of stumbling over my words because the experience at the event was a highly unexpected spiritual experience in a room full of women and a handful of men who were just freely sharing, freely inspiring, freely pouring into each other, freely encouraging, and freely strengthening. And so she is here with us today. I'm going to let her introduce herself to you after I also tell you about my second guest who is here with us today. And again, I have an opportunity of being in places where, it's like, what am I doing here? But I was at this meeting and ran into my second guest, heard her story, and was totally amazed at how she is positioned to be where she is. I'm going to allow both of them to introduce themselves to you, introduce their organizations and what they do to you, and give you a little history. Let's start with Miss Leia.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Leia Baraza. I am the founder of Momentum. I am also a full-time realtor in the Sacramento Outro.
And productive. I saw your productivity girl, yes.
And I do my best, yes. I'm also a mom of 10 children.
Say that one more time because they weren't sure they heard that.
I'll go a little slower. I am a mom of 10 children that I've given birth to. There is no blended family. My husband and I have been together since we were 16 years old. And going on 25 years married, and still just being an example of how to do that in a world where it's not very common. I decided that it was time to create something within our community that not only celebrated women, but celebrated moms. And then on top of that, I wanted to share with many people in the community, primarily women, on how a mom can be a realtor and be a top producing realtor. And I know that everybody has a very unique story.
Yeah.
And although you are where you're at now, Agent Key, and you're very successful, I wanted to know the nitty gritty.
How did it happen?
How did it happen? I want to know the times when you were on your knees, when you were asking, when you were begging, when you were saying, what else do I need to do? And so I bring in probably every other month, every 2 months, we get together. Right now it's grown. I've done this for about 10 months now, and it's grown to about 100 people that are coming now. It's getting larger and larger.
This is crazy that you've only done this 10 months because this feels like the weight of the room felt like you'd been doing this for years.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the grace too as well.
Yeah.
Grace, and it's not from me.
We got to tell everybody your husband Ruben is here.
Yes.
And he is a big supporter of you.
Huge. Number one.
Oh,
yeah.
my gosh.
Number one. And so, yes, so that's kind of just a little bit, well, I'm sure we'll go more into it, but that's kind of how that all started, that we needed to have something for.
And the event is called Momentum?
Momentum. So the word is momentum, but in that word is the word mom. And we moms know how to just keep it moving when we need to. There's no taking too long of a break. You need to get back up. Those kids are hungry.
Yes. Yes.
There's sibling rivalry, so you got to get up. And I want people who are getting into the industry with little ones to know how to do that.
Yes.
What steps to do to take to be successful.
How to make it happen. How to have the career. How to have it all. The husband, the career, the kids, the great life.
And just primarily, it's just grace. Grace. How to have grace, and that's something that's something that's practiced.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you have the influence, the examples, the real examples,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just Instagram and
Yes.
all that, but
Yeah.
the real people,
Thank you for clarifying.
you'll find it. And so we bring that together in that networking space.
I want to hear more. I want our listeners to hear more about that, and we're going to take a break after we hear from our next guest as well, but we're going to dive into what both of you do because there's so much to unpack with what both of you do. Let's hear from our next guest.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Kelly Fong Rivas. I serve as the Racial Equity Advisor for Mayor Steinberg for the City of Sacramento, and I just really love and I lift up what Leia said about grace. And I definitely see why you brought us together in conversation today for this incredible show. A little bit of my background. Moved to Sacramento after college during the recession to take a job. Wasn't really sure where I would wind up, what it would lead to. I was working as a community organizer for a political consulting firm to really work on social justice, climate justice issues. Worked all across the western United States on different campaigns, getting engaged in congressional races, and then moved into public service, never thinking I'd work for an elected official, but wound up working for Congressman Vera after he was elected, and had known him during his first campaigns and saw him as more of an outsider, a doctor really trying to, do good at a level that normally, we don't necessarily have access to or think
Right.
about how that level of government can affect our lives. I learned so much, and it really got me more centered into the community and the different issues that were happening. And I have to say it was something that I felt so lucky to be able to do.
Yeah.
Because moving to Sacramento, not knowing much about it other than being a kid playing soccer tournaments in the heat and thinking it was the worst thing in the world. I was so embraced by the community when I first moved here. I just wanted to find a way to continue to get engaged and involved, especially because it was during the recession. I'd moved.
Now, how old were you at this time?
Oh gosh, it was just really the first year after college.
And
I was in my early 20s.
You rattled off a list that was like a pedigree that it takes most people 20 years to accomplish, and you did this in your early 20s.
Got so lucky, I really did, and that's by grace, right? And just the things that you are putting out, and I know we'll talk about this more in the abundance that comes to you when you find your alignment. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. Never thought I'd work for an elected official, and just knew from that wonderful embrace of the community when I first moved to Sacramento and fell in love with it, that I wanted to get in the middle to help realize all the potential that was there that I saw even amidst the recession and businesses closing and different services going away. Seeing the community come together was just so incredible, and I could feel it, and wanted to help, didn't know what it would be like. So, after learning government a little bit at the federal level, had an opportunity to speak with then a candidate for mayor, Darrell Steinberg, who was looking for folks to, work on the campaign, help bring to light a vision that he had. Only knew him peripherally. That was a real politician to me at the time.
Right,
It's like, okay,
right.
I still felt like an outsider, community organizer, and really clicked in our first conversation. Next thing I knew, I was managing a mayoral campaign, and then leading our transition into office in the city and learning local government and working on all of these really complex issues of how to connect our economic renaissance. The city was, catching its stride again after the recession in 2016, back into our neighborhoods that have been so underinvested in. And it just really aligned with my passion as a community organizer on social justice issues, and had the good fortune now to transition out of a chief of staff role for the last, almost 5 years into this role as an advisor, so I can really focus in on how we do that, how we get through these crises together and really come out on the end better.
You were talking about, and both of you were talking about grace and passion, and you and I had a conversation about your meeting with Darrell Steinberg and how you initially saw him as a politician, and you were kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work. And so you actually were very transparent and open with him, and you asked him, tell me a little bit more about yourself, not the politician, which actually led you to take the position with him. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely, yeah. Looking back, I've always written journals and kept notes and things, and I found an old one that actually listed out all these questions that I had, and I was kind of surprised, looking back at myself and, in 20s thinking, wow, you really came prepared to this, but I had to
You
know.
were an amazing 20-year-old. I mean,
Yeah, I just had to know, though, because I couldn't see myself working for really the system, right?
Yeah.
Or what I saw as a true politician. I didn't know him as a person, right? What was in his heart. And
Right.
this is to a question you asked in that meeting, right? And I needed to get at that and to understand, why do you want to run for mayor? How do you want your campaign to operate? What is the vision that you have, not just for your campaign and how you are, introducing yourself, treating others, but what is your real vision for the city? What's that true why in your heart?
Right.
And the discussion was incredible, because some of the first things out of his mouth that I did not expect were, I really want to bring joy to each day. And I thought, that's how I feel. Yeah, okay.
Saying the right things
Saying
here.
the right things, okay, yeah. And then he talked about really connecting in that economic arc, right, back into our neighborhoods, back into youth specifically, and was just so articulate and clearly passionate about it, and connecting his whole background into it and showing these different steps that were taken. I was just really impressed, because he came from a world of the state legislature that I wasn't familiar with.
Right.
So being able to really hear that, what it took, and that he wanted to bring to bear all of that experience, all of those connections to the city that had given him so much, I was thinking, okay, this is an incredible opportunity for us to really start to bring some things together for community with community.
Right.
And I knew, even though I was, feeling really loyal to our team, to the congressman at the time, that, okay, this is an opportunity that you do not pass up. And when they offered me and told me, when I sat down, we just want you to know, we want you to be the campaign manager, I was like looking over my shoulder, like in my mind, like, they're talking to me, like, I've never run a mayoral campaign, like, okay, let's talk a little bit. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, you played it really cool. Like, all right, I appreciate that, but I'd like to ask these questions.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it was just such a great match.
How did that feel? How did that feel for both of you? And we'll start with you first, Leia. When you have your passion right in front of you, telling you, walk through the door. It hasn't happened yet.
Right.
You feel it. You know it's something that you're being called to do.
Yes.
But what is the feeling? What is the thought process? I know there are a lot of people out there right now who are passionate or don't yet know that they have a right to be passionate about something that they desire.
Right.
That it's something that they could pursue, that they don't have to have any fear. How do you move forward when let me just say it, when God has placed on your heart the thing for you to do, but it seems so daunting or you've never done it before? What are those steps?
I think for me, I just kind of, I'm a wing it kind of girl, so I've always been like, let's just see where this takes us. which I don't know if that's the correct way, but
we call that faith.
Okay, is that
Right?
what that's called?
That's
the
the
F word.
That's the F word. The clean F word.
So yeah, I think that's it. It's just stepping into the faith. So what happened was in 2020, pandemic happens. A lot of fear, the other F word, was out there. And for my children, I could not raise my children that way. I could not. It was not going to happen. So I did something really crazy and sold everything that we owned and packed our cars up and said we're going to learn how to van life and find another home in another state. And God had another plan for us. It was the most amazing trip that I've ever had in my entire life. It's given my children the knowledge of adaptability and how to be flexible in scary times and just how to pivot. And so God brought us back. There was something that we needed to come back for my mom. And while I was here, I said, well, why am I here for? What am I back in Sacramento for? And then I was told we need to do something, and it's momentum, and you need to do something for the community, and it's God and real estate. And so like I have that other thing too that I'm doing too, but momentum, what has happened now is that kind of like what they call luck, right? Preparation plus opportunity equals luck. Sounds just like your story. You've had these journals of preparation and just questioning and just kind of knowing that something's going to come. And that's exactly what has occurred, is that things just keep falling. Like, I know now that I'm taking the right steps towards wherever it is that I'm supposed to be going, because things
doors
just
keep opening,
they just
opportunities
and
keep
like
presenting themselves.
and back to the word grace, in alignment, it will just flow so easily. There might be things of where you want to do that tendency of stressing out or getting anxious or fearful, but when you just let it go, and then you just keep doing what you can do your best at, I think it'll all work out no matter what. So like, for example, my phone today does not have enough storage, and I wanted to film this, and before we came in I said, if for some reason there's not enough storage, just it's fine. Like, we're just gonna accept how it needs to be. And here you are videotaping the whole thing. So.
You know,
it's perfect.
I love that. And Kelly, I want to hear from you too. I love that you said, because with walking in the thing that you're supposed to do, oftentimes, many times, you know it's right because the opportunities just present themselves. The doors just open. But it's not without its challenges.
You said at Momentum, when you were on stage, you said, the burden is so heavy, but you know you have to do what you have to do to create the purpose that you're meant to be here for. And so I feel that. 10 kids. I have 10 kids, but I'm doing
5,
this
6,
thing.
7, 8, 9,
10. But I'm doing this with the community of helping other women, other mothers, other people, men to know, you know, what maybe their wives or their partners or their sisters or whatever they're going through. They can understand what we talk about, what we feel, what we experience, and so that just keeps me coming back for some more. That to see Agent Key almost cry on stage about what she's talking about, what's coming in her life in the next 90 days, which I still don't know, so we're going to have to ask after the mic. But and then to hear other people just opening up on stage, talking about their the things that they've endured in their life, and they say it. This is not the first time, but they'll say things like, I've never said this publicly. I don't know why I'm saying this now. And that, again, is telling me, oh, okay, then we need to do this. This is where it's supposed to be.
That's what I was referring to before the show when I said you have, like, inadvertently created a safe space where there were over 100 women in that room and men. And people were crying. There was a man that came up to me after, and he cried after hearing what everyone had said and was revealing something that was going on in his life, and it brought him to tears. And I'm like, what kind of networking event is this? Where they got you
It's
crying?
not uncommon, I promise you. Every event. And I actually usually prep the speakers. That for some reason I didn't prep you guys to know that somebody's going to come up to you crying, and they're going to come to you and they're going to cry and they're going to just want to let you know how you've touched their lives.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why you're supposed to be there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you do need to give a caveat on that. But Kelly, you too. Now, when you knew that this is what you wanted to do, how did you feel? The overwhelmingness of it all, yet you still moved forward. How do you do that?
You know, there's so much there, and I have to say it's not without support and help. And because this is Women's History Month and we're honoring and really lifting up so many women in our lives, I mean, it took a real kick in the behind from one of my mentors to really say, hey, this opportunity, there are 20 highly qualified people that are like trying to bang down doors to get that conversation you just had. Are you crazy? Like, don't worry about all these other things. Think about yourself. Center yourself in that alignment, right? That big F word, faith, right? Because when you said kind of a wing it girl, that's how I feel too. I feel like I've always kind of gone with the flow, be open. And I think that's so important, is to really understand as much preparation and as planning as you do, right? Remain open to those opportunities and possibilities that you may not have thought out or known to exist. I mean, a lot of this work that I hear from each of our stories are things that weren't necessarily a title or position on paper that you knew about and wanted to go after. I mean, I wasn't a little kid thinking, you know, one day when I grow up, I want to be chief of staff to the mayor or racial equity advisor to the mayor, right?
That title.
Right? And then you get to these points and you're looking back like, wow, you know, there aren't necessarily these concrete steps to get there. I've always admired individuals who have those straight line paths, but I think it's so essential to have that openness, to really look for different spaces and opportunities that you can move with your own light, right? With that grace and knowing to do the things that you're called to do and not be afraid that if it doesn't look a certain way, right?
Okay, this is why y'all are here today, because you just said a word. There is a straight line path that we are so often, we are taught in our culture, in the American culture, this is what you do. But you are both saying, the straight line path was not for me. And the path I traveled was so custom, I just had to wing it. And get this feeling of not just necessarily going with the flow, but also embracing it and saying, this is my path. It's not the straight line path, but it's my path, and it's my right path because it feels right. It's blessing others.
Yes.
I feel empowered. Tell me how you feel. You know what? Before you tell me how you feel, we're going to take a break. Oh, my goodness. We are 10 minutes past the break, y'all. But before we take a break, I want you to ponder this question. How do you balance your personal life and your professional life? And when we come back from the break, I want you to answer that question. So think about that right now. You are listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we will be right back. Hey everyone, it's Key.
And Vince.
And we are continuing the countdown of the top 10 things to do in
downtown Sacramento.
Finishing off with number 5 of Sacramento's Farm to Fork
restaurants.
Selling slack, selling slack. Selling slack, selling slack. Selling slack, selling Sacramento. Buying the block back. Selling slack, selling slack.
This relaxed eatery serves familiar Southern classics that feature locally sourced ingredients. Popular for breakfast, dinner, lunch, and solo dining, its highlight feature is its outdoor seating. With items on the menu such as chicken and waffles, fried green tomatoes, and grits, it's hard to imagine that this is a farm-to-fork restaurant, but it is. Located at 1630 S Street, Hook and Ladder Manufacturing Company is a new American comfort food spot. One of the highlights at Hook and Ladder is their outdoor seating, but they are also popular for lunch, solo dining, and dinner, offering alcohol, cocktails, beer, comfort food, happy hour, late night food, small plates, and vegetarian options. Located at 1800 15th Street, Iron Horse Tavern is a hip gastropub with outdoor seating, and leather banquettes dishing up creative American fare.
We are at Iron Horse.
Yes, Iron Horse, very delicious.
That's remnants. I had the breakfast platter. Holy crap. That's the remnants. It was amazing.
One of the highlights at this restaurant that I actually experienced for the first time was community seating. That's an option where you get to be seated at a table where someone else, a complete stranger, may be seated. Turned out to be a great experience. Mendocino Farms is a cute, quick sandwich eatery, but don't let the cuteness fool you.
All right, hi everybody, my name's Tyler. I'm here at Mendocino Farms. This is gonna be our food journey up here behind me if you wanna take a look. Mario grew up in Yuba City. He started this restaurant with his wife Ellen down in LA. They worked their way back up. We're restaurant number 23. We're gonna open 3 more in Sacramento this coming year. Whereas Farm to Fork is we can possibly be here. We've got a lot of natural selections, especially for vegans and vegetarians. If you want, come give us a shot.
Full of healthy options located in the ice blocks at 1610 R Street. Creative gourmet sandwiches, soups, and salads made with local and seasonal ingredients. Rio City Cafe is a quaint restaurant with a riverside.
10. 5. 2. Let's go.
Hey everyone, we're back. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key. We are selling Sacramento. I am here with Leah and Kelly, and I'm just going to say we are having a ladies' moment, an encouraging moment of women. I don't know, there's a title in there somewhere. I can't find it. The actual title of today's show is Women Who Inspire from Passion to Action. Watch these female trailblazers forge a path to success. And I'm calling them female trailblazers because, as we said before we took the break, both of them got onto these paths that neither expected that they'd ever be on. Not only that, but these are not paths that culturally in America we say to take. Like, Kelly, your title is
Racial Equity Advisor to the Mayor.
And they're not teaching that in elementary school, that that's something you can be one day when you grow up.
Yes.
And Leah, it is taboo to have 10 kids and a husband that you've been married to for 25 years, a career in real estate, and this awesome, amazing movement, Momentum, where hundreds of women are in a room coming to tears and coming to themselves and having these moments of deep reflection and redefining who they are and being able to reposition themselves, walking out of there actually empowered to go on a little bit further, especially during times like this. Before we went on break, I asked you, how do you balance your personal life and your professional life? Who wants to go first?
I know Leah had an image that came straight to mind I can't wait to hear about.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the bachata,
Tell us.
or salsa, or merengue, or cumbias, or like the way that you have to dance
now
and move
that
your
sounds
feet.
familiar.
You got to move your feet all around, and the guy's like spinning you, and then like you just kind of go that direction and that direction. That's what came to mind.
Oh, wow.
And so it's very much a dance, and whatever, waltzing, whatever you want to think of. You have to know how to step. And if you're with a partner, your partner and you really have to learn how to sink in
analogy.
and stay in step with one another, because when one person's out of step, then you're stepping on each other's feet. And so I have to include my husband in on this, because there is no way that I could have done what I've done without having a relationship with somebody that I know, love, and trust. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, and that's something else that I want to really state. It doesn't have to be a husband, a partner, whoever. It could be someone like, I told you after the event, I said, you are one of my new, I don't know,
circle kind of folks.
Yeah, I called it, I think, a disciple or something.
Yeah, you did.
Because I know where I want to be at my faith, and you spoke the language that I could understand, that where I'm getting to where I want to understand at now. So I'm finding to how to leverage into other people, because anything that we do has to be mindset, and it has to be, we have to trust, and then we have to have that faith, and then we have to have the accountability and leverage from people too, as well. People that will, hey Leah, how are you doing? You know, hey Leah, how's that project going? Or just checking in on you. Establishing those relationships with people is so important, and that is exactly why I did Momentum, because I can't really hold everyone's hands, but hey, you might be able to connect with 5 people. Kelly might be able to connect with some of the people that are listening right now that might be my people, and then we just all come together as like this metaphysical body, and we're just like
doing what God created us to do,
feeding and
supporting
helping
each other,
and supporting and being light, like you said, and just creating a balance and just walking strong
and doing
together.
Amazing things, like unheard of things, like breaking racial barriers and you know, equity. And with that being said, Kelly, how do you stay motivated and inspired?
Such a good question. I just have to say it was such a beautiful analogy too, thinking about dancing in those steps, because it's so true. And it gets to that point too, that things may not be the way you think they should be. We can think about particular dances and nailing the moves, right? Everybody on TikTok trying to do a certain thing. But some of the most beautiful art and dance that we see are those spaces in between where people are improvising, right? And I think that's something that we've all been a part of in our lives, of improvising into those places, and how you balance that professional, personal, right? It's not going to look the same for me as it does for you, as it does for you, Keith. And I think that's part of what is so important about motivating and having this really interconnected sort of body, and recognizing that, you know, even though we're all so different, we have very common shared experiences, and it's the combination of them that are different and unique for each of us. And so being able to stay motivated for me personally is recognizing that shared humanity, and that even though it may feel very lonely, what I'm doing or in the spaces that I'm in and all the different things that I'm hearing, that I'm not alone in it, right? And so
that
always
so
remembering and recognizing that, and that you're not just doing something for yourself, right? But also by that same measure, by taking care of yourself, you are taking care of others. Because if you show up into these spaces, into these rooms, into these types of events, and you know, you aren't prepared to create that sort of safety for individuals, right? And you're bringing harm in. There's a phrase that hurt people, right? You always have to recognize too, like, am I ready to open up and do some of this work, or is there some self-work I need to go back and do first? And so
Kelly's
things like that really just help stay grounded through it all, especially in the burnout.
That is so real.
Talking about the burnout too. Bring that up.
I love the improvisation part, you know, because when we get stuck on thinking things are supposed to happen a certain way, and they don't start looking like the way we think they should look, the first thing we want to do is bail. And you mentioned that, Kelly, about leaving a dream, or which one of you mentioned on the break, when there's something that's going on and then you just bail because it doesn't look right, but maybe it's supposed to happen like that.
Absolutely.
Maybe you should still stick with it and give it another shot.
And or recognize, you know, that dream you had that you were trying to manifest a certain way. If you're not open to it manifesting in a different way, you're not going to reach it. You know, if you're so set on one path and it looking one way, you are, you know, that closed door you're choosing, you know, is actually closing off so many other doors that are opening to you in other ways. And so recognizing, those moments where, shoot, I didn't get that job that I was interviewing for that I was so set on. You know, look internally, like, why, you know, is that upsetting? What are other ways that I can go about still achieving those things I'm passionate about? And so it's part of that, of really recognizing the opportunities in those closed doors, or it didn't look a certain way. And I can't help but think about your story too, right? And packing up and trusting and having that faith to, you know, just move to literally a different location.
Right.
And what would
that takes
look
a
like
huge
differently?
faith walk.
It was 46 states, 10 and a half months.
Wow.
With 10 kids, we're
With
all
10 kids, 10 kids, 2 dogs. We that was
a Netflix show.
That was
really
everybody
it
asked
really
us while we're on the
does.
roads. But that was like another thing where it was just so much reward that was given to us. So the 10 kids came all the way up to South Beach, and the 2 older ones went back home. But they got to celebrate and come with us and enjoy for 2 months that road trip with us. And it was such a blessing. But
tell us really quickly the ages of your children. We need people to put this all in perspective, because somebody out there is complaining about their one child and how it's hard to balance being a mom and a wife, and marriages are breaking up left and right because there is no give and take. The focus is somewhere else. I mean, for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
And even when both of you walked in here, one of you said something like, "Oh, but it's a real marriage, don't get it twisted," kind of thing. So, we know that there are, you have issues, but 25 years, 10 kids, what are the kids' ages?
So we have, the oldest is 25, he lives out in Philadelphia, and then our oldest is, your baby is 4. So everything in between.
So tell us the ages of the in between.
Oh my goodness!
If you can remember,
So
I know.
We got
I
a 4-year-old,
apologize.
8-year-old. 7-year-old, 9-year-old. They all just had birthdays. 12-year-old, 15-year-old, 17-year-old, 19-year-old, 21-year-old, and then a 23-year-old.
You have them at every phase of life.
Yeah,
God bless
I
you.
did.
Where can people send donations? Where can they send the spa package?
Yes,
Because
thank you, Agent King.
you need the spa package.
Now that you mentioned it, no, just kidding.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, no. It's definitely 20 years of pregnancy and nursing and being a mom, but now finally having this gap that I've never had since I was 17 and a half years old of like being able to, and I feel blessed. Many people are going to be like, well, why do you have 10 kids for? Well, because that was something I wanted to do, and this is 2023, and we can do, this is women's rights, I can do what I want. But I
and children are a blessing.
They are a blessing. And so I knew that I was going to have a big family. But now that I've had this time, now I get to have finally my own, like, this baby by myself that I'm creating, with the help of people, my family, my friends that are helping, my husband, all backing me up and just encouraging me. And again, even if you're on your own, you don't have a partner, you have those 5 friends that you are that you're in that same circle with. Those people are supposed to hold you up and carry you when you need that assistance. So just go out there and find that leverage.
Now, you said those 5 friends. And I don't have this as one of my questions here to ask, but both of you kind of touched on it when you said earlier that there was someone in your circle who said, hey, look at this list of folks who are interviewing for this. And out of all these people, you're the top one. And you just said, have those 5 friends in your space, and you pointed out that you were pulling me in. How important is it to have the right people in your circle, and how do you vet who those people are?
Ooh, it is so essential. And just like you said, it doesn't need to be a certain partner, husband, wife, anything like that. It could be a mentor, it could be a peer, it could be your friend. So just who are those people that you really have that safe space with, that you can be honest and authentically yourself? Because they know you, they know what's in your heart, they know your fears, and they can push you to question some of your assumptions that you may not, be aware of, that you might want to take yourself out because you don't think you have, 10 out of 10 of the qualifications listed, but you've got the 5 that are the most important, and they're pointing those out to you and pushing you to do it.
That person is telling you that you are, that is you.
Right?
Do not count yourself out.
Absolutely. And when you maybe don't have the motivation, right, like we talked about before, they are there to help motivate you in that way, so that you can take care of you. Exactly. And encourage you in ways that you might not have been able to picture, right? Because we get, into our own mindsets and what we're capable of, and we tell ourselves these stories and these narratives over time, and, maybe you're starting to outgrow them, but you're not quite ready yet to take that next step into faith, but you're seeing through your network, through those, core circles, but they're able to do it this way, and trust in what it would look like for you to be able to do it, and that they're there regardless to catch you no matter where you land.
Wow.
I love that. Yeah.
Now, how are you picking your disciples, ma'am?
I think it's just, like I said, they're speaking my language.
I was going to point that out when you said that. I get the sense that you're hearing something that actually impacts your heart spiritually.
Oh, absolutely. And so I've always been spiritual all my life, but I never really had a clear connection with God. I didn't know I could communicate with Him until a few years back. And yes, everyone, I do speak to God. And now that I'm doing that, I'm actually on my path, and I actually understand what I have to do, and I have to find those that speak the kingdom language and speak, and I can hear their message better and clearer now, which helps me take my next steps on my path, because we're all on our own individual path. And so by doing that now, by being open to that, where I was never really open to it, I'm being blessed so much more. And again, you resonate with me because we're seeing something that we both have, or maybe that you've seen in the past, and now I'm like excited to see in the future, right? And so it's just, and then with meeting Miss Kelly here, I'm just like, oh, who is this lady?
Yeah, I heard you guys say let's exchange numbers. Yes.
So that's exactly, you brought me here. I've now met Kelly. I'm excited to see where this path will take us.
Yeah.
And it might be really short. It might be a lunch and that's it. But there might be some.
It may be a reason to connect the two of you so that you can connect her to somebody else.
Exactly.
We don't know, but it's the right path.
Yes,
because
exactly.
it happened. The moment happened, so now you walk into it.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So real.
This is exciting, ladies. So here is another question for both of you. What lessons have you learned from your failures or your mistakes, and how have they helped you grow?
This is such a good question.
It's heavy.
It is. It's a heavy one.
Think about one thing in particular, one incident that you bounced back from, or maybe didn't recover from at all, but still learned some, because there's always a lesson. It's never a failure if you learn.
I think being 17 and a half and pregnant, that was a huge, huge thing. I was a senior in high school, and I remember my mom, when she found out when I was 7 months pregnant, she found out and she's like, so you're not going to be able to go to college? And I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm going to college. She said, there's no way. How are you going to go to college? And I said, people do it all the time. Like, I'm going to go to college. And I graduated 4.5 years later, 3 kids later. And I think just what you were saying, it's like we have these goals that we set, and the path may not be as straight the way that we wanted, but as long as we hold on to our goals and we have the leverage, we have the resources, we have the people that are backing us up, it will manifest, or it will come to fruition. Is that how you say that word? And it will happen for you. And so I think that through my hardships of what I've experienced in life, through the fears that I've gone, when I've taken those leaps of faith, when I quit my state job and went full-time into real estate, things that I've done, when I took the kids out and we went homeschool for the last 7 years now, it's like, oh, I get it now. When the pandemic happened and all these poor children and parents and teachers were going through all of this extreme turmoil, and my kids are just like 3 years into homeschool, and they're like, and we're not feeling anything.
Right.
It was like, okay, now I see why I had to do what I did. So that just keeps showing up over and over and over again, when you really do just, you know what you want. I know what I want. I want a wholly healthy, happy, safe, and successful marriage and family. That's my goal. That's my prayer. I say it every single day. When I start feeling fear, I start going to that. And so I think that when we hold those goals in our mind and in front of us at all times, no matter what, we're going to reach it.
Oh my God. I love that. Oh, that is, so you just said so much, because one of the things that I cling to is keeping my eye on the prize. And there's a biblical reference to that. There is a sports reference to that. There's so many references to the importance of staying focused. When you stay focused, when you are intensely focused, nothing around you can get in. And then when you lift your head up, you look around and people might be running around like little Larry with his chicken with his head cut off or whatever. I didn't give him a name. I know he didn't have a name. But the point is, like, during the real estate market, someone told me several months ago that many agents are leaving the industry. And I was shocked. Why was I shocked? Because I lifted my head up from off of where the goal was, and I realized that for a lot of people, the industry was falling apart. But because I was so focused on what I've been called to do, I'm not having those issues. And that's the power in doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. That so reminds me of this phrase, I want to say from a poet that goes, inner strength can withstand any amount of surface change.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said is that, right? Even if, the goals and things shift, as you were speaking and talking about, being 17 and a half, it's like, okay, that'll bring me back to that point in time too, right? Thinking about that failure question you're asking about, mistakes, how do you recover? I think it's all in alignment with this discussion. For me, I go back into age 15 when at that point I was such a tomboy. I was an athlete. I was really lucky to be gifted in that way. I was playing very competitive soccer, competing in pole vaulting at junior Olympic levels, just knew I was going to go get free ride scholarships, go do this, go to Olympics. That was just
the path.
That was the path, the goal, right? Entering into my freshman year of high school, I could not try out for the varsity team because I had a knee injury at the time. I was very lucky to still, by reputation, make it to the varsity team. Consider that I was going to continue to do these things.
Wow.
That knee injury turned out to be just career-ending for me. And surgery at the time and things now are considered malpractice or what had happened then. But I had to re-find a path and a goal from my very first passion, the only passion I thought that I had, and really figure out what was this blessing, that closed door? Because now I look back at where I am, and I don't think I would ever have had the opportunity to be in the types of rooms, spaces, communities, roles, and work that I've been in that truly speak to my heart and alignment, had it not been for that type of a failure of my
injury.
body in those moments, right? To really change that path and be open to what else could be there.
That's the part. The key is being open to it, because a lot of people have injuries like that, or they sustain moments in their lives like that where it just paralyzes them and they remain. How did you mentally decide that you're going to shift from this is not an asset, this is a failure? How did you shift to no, this is an asset?
It took a while, I'll be honest, and I bring it up too in that point in time because I think it's so important for us to understand some of these childhood traumas, right?
Yes.
And wounds that we carry and how they show up in our adult lives.
Yes.
And that was a bout of serious depression for me, of losing my identity, of being an athlete, of being, all these different things and having to refine yourself at that time. And I realized that it helped teach me about my strengths, about that inner strength to persevere, that I still had a drive and ambition that wasn't just rooted in one thing, and to get in touch with that and to recognize that about myself at that time was incredibly empowering, because I don't know that I would have discovered those pieces of myself had it not been for a piece of adversity like that. And understanding too at the time, I remember thinking, when I'm older and, grandma, I want to be able to bend down and pick up, my grandkids. And if I keep trying to play on this knee that is just not going to be capable, what is that going to look like physically? How do I take care of myself now for those other future goals?
Ladies, I told you this hour was going to go by so fast. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to come back with at least, we'll try to get another question, but I want you all to have the opportunity to share with the audience what you're currently working on, what you'd like us to make sure that we look into you with your next ventures. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we'll be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's take a look at what's new this morning. Buying a home for many people can be a far-off dream that takes years of planning and market watching.
But with the right help and guidance, becoming a homeowner cements better financial capital for you and generations after. ABC 10's Marcus Allen is live this morning. Mark, you met with one of the nation's most successful realtors making this dream a reality.
Yeah, she's putting Sacramento on the map and selling Sacramento. In fact, that's the name of her radio show. And like with interest rates and prices soaring, everybody's saying, yeah, homeownership is out of the picture for me. And she's saying, wait, step back, can make it happen. Take a look.
am Agent Key, and we are selling Sacramento.
Meet Agent Key. Key Matthews is one of the busiest real estate professionals in California, and not just for selling houses. She's the host of a radio show on 97.5 KDEE, Selling Sacramento. She's the founder of Sac Club 100, a group helping people learn the road to home ownership. She was also recently named State Director of the California Association of Real Estate Brokers, a subsidiary of the oldest minority real estate trade association in the United States. There are people watching right now that probably think they could never own a home because they just don't want to have the conversation about the road to that. They haven't had the conversation.
Right, yeah. So for so long, so many people, and blacks and minorities in particular, have not had the opportunity to have those kinds of conversations in their homes. You know, we grew up in households where we're struggling to survive and we're thinking about how to pay the rent, how to get the bills paid. And so for a lot of people, having a conversation about home ownership was just not something that came up.
What I love about you, there's so much joy in your face, and the joy specifically comes out when you're talking about how much help you've given to other people and success stories of helping people achieve the dream.
It does.
How does it bring you joy?
Well, there's this saying that says if you're doing what you're passionate about, you never have to work a day in your life. And I really believe that to be true. I've been in real estate for 19 years. I've been a broker for 8. And I can truly say that I've never had to work a day in my life.
She is awesome. I'm going to link all the information to Agent Key and her various agencies like the SAC 100, places that you can go to learn the trail, to learn the way to buy your own home. The reason I'm standing, by the way, at Doco is because there's this gorgeous Jumbotron right across the street, currently out of order. Typically, it's on 24/7, and I wanted to show you specifically because about every 30 seconds, a giant ad with her beautiful face on it, selling Sacramento, steering you towards her radio show, etc. Anyway, Agent Key, can't wait for you to meet her. And if you want to buy a new home, don't think you can, you probably should. Back to you.
Great story, and she's got a lot of great tips to help you get there. Mark, too much March Madness. It caused that Jumbotron to go out. It was just a busy weekend down there in Doco.
Because with mountain elevations too, you have to have ability to. Yes.
3. That's good. Let's go.
Woo-wee, y'all. You're listening to 97.5 FM KDEE. I am Agent Key, and we are here with some trailblazing women. We have only a few minutes left, but I want to take these last few minutes to let you each talk about what you have going, how we can follow you, how we can connect with you, how we can continue to watch your journey. Miss Leia.
So you can follow me on Instagram at leia.momentum. We're going to have our next Momentum event May 18th, location to be determined still. That's one of those things where I'm winging it sometimes because I do have to feel the environment to know that it's a great space.
Yeah. I have to vouch for the location. The last one was at the
District 56 in Elk Grove, and that's beautiful. People love that venue.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but I do want to bring more Folsom in, more El Dorado in, more Granite Bay, because y'all don't want to pass the overpasses of the
and
freeway.
vice versa.
Yeah, and so we need to come together. I need the South Sacramento, the Elk Grove, the Midtown people to know people in El Dorado and Folsom, and we need to bring it together.
So if there are any listeners that are listening in El Dorado, in Granite Bay, out in Rockland, Roseville, and those areas, and you know of locations or spots where Momentum can be held.
A lot of natural lighting, just very, very organic, very the good air, good space. Every time you step in there, that's the kind of venue I'm looking for.
And how can they connect with you again?
Leia.momentum on Instagram, or you can definitely reach out, send me a text, 916-879-4435.
And when they go to these events, what can they expect to happen?
They'll definitely be enlightened. They definitely have to come open-minded and leave your ego at the door, please, because that's not what this is about. We want to just be able to embrace and tap into the true core of who we are as light spirits.
And there is a huge wave of cultural diversity at your events.
Yes, and that's absolutely something that's very important to me. So would love to just see, bring all of your friends, different cultural backgrounds. I want it all because we need to connect more. There's an interesting line that's still being drawn with certain communities within the Sacramento area in 2023, and I am not happy with that, especially being multicultural.
And this event definitely breaks that barrier.
Definitely.
There was something that I said I was going to say to all of our listeners before the show started, that by the time you hear this show, by the time it's over, you're going to walk away with 3 takeaways. One, with that we are a lot more alike than we are different. The other, that you never know what somebody's going through, and everybody's going through something, so be kind and be gracious.
Yes.
And the third is that life has a tendency to rewarding you abundantly when you lean into your area of giftedness and your passion. And I think that by listening to both of you today, we definitely walked away with that. So, Kelly, what are you up to?
Ooh, so
how
much
can we
happening.
keep following you?
Love that. So we've got this wonderful blog and website for the mayor's office. It's engagesac.org. There's a ton of information on there about what's going on, what's happening, and about us section where you can see my little bio, catch my email there, how to get in touch and stay in touch with me. I'm not a big social media person, so I don't have a great account for that to share. But there are so many amazing different projects that we're working on that I'm lucky to be a part of, that you can tune into. Let's see, April 11th, we have our upcoming Racial Equity Committee meeting. That is an actual standing committee of council that's dedicated to how do we advance racial equity as a city. And so you'll hear some discussion during that meeting on the 11th. You can find that information online as well. I'm also really trying to help center community in this entire conversations around reparations that's happening at the state level, it's happening at the federal level and across the country, and what could that look like locally here for Sacramento.
Now, would that be a good opportunity for people who may not know anything about reparations and who might be questioning, why is this happening?
Yeah, we're going to figure out a good way here soon to really start to do more informational sessions, listening sessions for community to come to the table, ask these questions, see what's going on. And one of the things that I just lift up now, because it's happening today and tomorrow, is the State Reparations Task Force. They are here in Sacramento once again, just downtown at 10th and I, and there is a public comment period available for folks between, I want to say, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. So tomorrow there's an opportunity to call in, to go in person, to send comments in writing. And I don't have the website off the top of my head for the California Department of Justice that staffs and supports it, but if you just Google California Reparations Task Force meeting, you will find that information online. And it is pinned on the mayor's Instagram account, actually, okay. Mayor Steinberg, for that information on how to participate in call-ins. You can find that on the mayor's Instagram right now, too.
Okay. This has been an amazing discussion, ladies. We are at our time, but I've got to have both of you back. We got to have an update. And is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with? I know I just kind of dropped that on you, but y'all have both been just so powerful when it comes to pouring into not the listeners. I guess I'm being selfish when I say pouring into me. I just love to surround myself with amazing people who are also the struggle is real, but getting to the finish line is realer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so we don't allow things to stop us, and I just love it. Any final words?
I want to go back to one of the points you brought up of what listeners could walk away with today about, being kind, because you never know what somebody is going through. I just have to say, you really learn your strength in kindness, and it is so often underestimated as a weakness. But to be able to show up with kindness to each and every moment, situation, both for yourself and for others, requires a level of strength that just teaches you so much about yourself, your humanity, and the ability to really get things done. And so I just would share that as sort of
I definitely am just going to second that.
Yeah, that's a Kellyism. She's going to need to write a little book, Kellyisms. Yep, because that was good.
So good.
So you're seconding her.
The obvious thing is kindness, and the obvious thing is love. Right? Yeah. It all comes back down to love. Yeah. Charity is the ultimate love, and if you can give that moment to say hello to someone, to say, I see you, I recognize you. How are you doing? Like, really, how are you doing?
Simple.
Right? Like, and connect.
And really mean it.
You never know. And be ready, because you never know.
Yeah. Don't say it if you don't mean it, because somebody might take you up on it.
But when you do say it and they do mean it and they have you for that, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it needs to get to, then you've done your purpose, I think, in that moment, or for that day, or for that week, or whatever it is. And so it just goes back to that.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you both.
Thank you so
Everyone,
much.
thank you so much for tuning in. I need to give a shout out to our watchers and viewers on social media. I know, Rich. Hey. Hey. Oh, he said, hey, Pam. Hi, Michael. And Sequoia, hello, ma'am. She said it's so humbling to be able to look back and see it's all part of God's plan. Yeah, that's right. And Miss Chanel, thanks for the vulnerability, ladies. Great episode. Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. And remember, if you are doing what you were created to do, I will see you at the top.
Ooh.
All right, you guys. We are out of here. Ladies, wave bye. Bye. See y'all next time.